Viewers, and welcome to the CSRUniverse Leaders Talk. There are some interviews where the title of this segment, Leaders Talk, holds specially true. It's one of those days today, and we are in conversation with Mr. Vinod Kulkarni, the head of CSR for Tata Motors. Vinodji, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank
Yes.
you for
Now,
inviting me.
although the name Tata, that's a name that needs no introduction, be it business or social impact, but I'd just like to set the context with some figures. So, Tata Motors has an incredible reach in 26 states and 8 union territories. This includes their work in 90 aspirational districts. Cumulatively, they have touched 1 million lives, and they do this all with an efficiency that is hard to match. Vinodji, I was actually going through your CSR report yesterday, and I was so intrigued by your concept of more from less for more. So I found that very interesting. There was another approach, the human life cycle approach. It was all very fascinating to me. So I hope we can also touch upon these concepts during our discussion. But
Absolutely.
yes, but let's begin with the most recent development. So, your recent partnership with the government of Maharashtra for the rejuvenation of 1,000 water bodies. So, you're already working extensively on water security, right? So, how will this partnership help you scale your efforts further? And what are the specific deliverables for Tata Motors and the government of Maharashtra under this MOU?
Yeah. Thank you firstly for having me on this conversation. While I'll touch upon the 1000 water body rejuvenation project, but what I would want to communicate is many times we limit our imagination by the situation we are in or the resources we have at our hands. And that is something I think the CSR team at Tata Motors didn't get bound with, didn't get limited with what we have with us in terms of resources. You did allude to the more from less for more philosophy,
Yes.
right? And let me just jog back my memory 10 years back, 11 years back, when in the first CSR committee meeting of the board in 2014, where the then chairperson of the CSR committee, Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, he did introduce this concept to us that, reach out to more people with less resources and more effectively.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? So, get together all the key stakeholders who are involved for a issue, for a project, and then get everyone aligned to the cause, to the objective. Seek everyone's participation, appropriate participation. And participation doesn't only means financial resources. It could be all that is needed to deploy a project. And to make a project sustainable, you need to have those key stakeholders taking over and a CSR or an NGO to move out. So most of our projects are based on that philosophy, wherein we get all the stakeholders together, engage them intensely, and then over a period of time, we our stake as Tata Motors reduces, and then the system takes over. Now coming to this 1000 water body project, the 1000 water body project didn't happen in the last few months. The foundation of this project was laid about 6-7 years back. So we started working with government of Maharashtra with our another project called Integrated Village Development Project in the tribal district of Palghar, which is about 150 kilometers from Mumbai, where we started working very closely with the district administration and the government. And we initiated programs where Tata Motors and its associated NGOs investments were limited, and largely we were channelizing the existing government schemes. So efficient delivery of a government scheme to a large number of beneficiaries is what we embarked upon. And after our experience and success, with that project, we scaled up from one gram panchayat to now about 5-6 gram panchayats in Palghar, and about 15 plus gram panchayats is in 5 states of India. So anything what we do, one, it has to be replicable and scalable and sustainable. Else, we will have many islands of success and we'll talk about it and be proud about it. But then, it should create a larger ripple effect, a larger, systemic change, a larger policy intervention. After that success, what we have, and we continue to have very good relationships with many of the state governments with whom we work. So about 3 years back, when the Prime Minister of India wanted, the 75 Amrit Sarovars. In every district, 75 water bodies where the Prime Minister wanted the administration, civil society, and corporates to take up. And there we sort of started learning on the water projects. Not that we didn't know about water, nor were we working in water. We were working on the water, theme for many, many years, and in a very structured manner through our foundation. We have a company promoted foundation, Sumant Mulgaonkar Development Foundation. Through this foundation, for more than 15 years now, we are deploying a project called Amrit Dhara, wherein we support deserving and water deficient areas for drinking water. So there was an experience what we had. And post the Amrit Sarovar intervention with the government of Maharashtra, last summer, we took up a target of 350 water body rejuvenation along with the government of Maharashtra in about 10 districts, wherein we, along with our NGO partner NAM Foundation, rejuvenated 356 water bodies, 6 more than what we are targeted for. And our investments are, one, getting to those gram panchayats or places where the water body rejuvenation is required. There is a demand, there has to be participation, aligning with the district administration, soil and water conservation department, the collectorate, and then all this folds up at the state level, where the Ministry of Soil and Water Conservation, the secretary and the minister, and the CM's office, all of them get aligned, and thereafter the MOU is made. Because if it's a ground up, accepted by all stakeholders, every stakeholder is wanting to achieve that objective, then only it works. Else there are many MOUs which are signed and it just ends up at signing. And I would like to bring to your notice that when we signed this 1,000 water body MOU, Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis ji, mentioned that Tata Motors takes up projects on a scale. Every year they increase the scale and also achieve it. So that's the endorsement of we just not signing up and then leaving it to luck. Now coming to this 1,000 water bodies, a lot of efforts have gone in. One, our own learnings of the 350 water bodies where we leveraged the government scheme. Our investments were made to, do up the work. We did all that was required to be done. But the money through the government scheme, is paid back to our NGO partner NAM Foundation. And that fund of Tata Motors and its associated organizations now will be reinvested for this year's project. So 350 water bodies required an X amount. Now for 1,000 water bodies, you might require 2.5x amount. That comes to the CSR funds of Tata Motors and associated organizations in the Tata Motors group. But what it does is, it creates a cascading effect. You invest once, but then that investment can be rolled over many times. And the government is very, very happy to have a partner like Tata Motors and now Foundation, because they know that one, the work would be done 100%, would be done very well, and they did not worry about any other leakages if at all exists in the system. Now, having done this 1,000 water body MOU, about 6 months back, the process began, the one I mentioned to you in the past. Now we have placed, Tata Motors has placed about 12 water fellows in 12 districts where, water deficiency is sort of perennial or for an extended period. So we in Tata Motors believe to be a part of the system to drive the system. Because if we are an outsider, we will not have a full understanding of what exactly needs to be done and how things have to be sort of managed and accomplished. And with the Tata brand, as you were saying, there is a high level of trust, and everyone knows that there is no other intention of Tata Motors or Tata Group of companies other than just deploying the objective and the project for which we have signed up. So our efforts doesn't only end here. 1,000 is just a beginning, and we will do many more in the coming years, and just not in Maharashtra, and we are all, but in other states. We are working with some other states to adopt a similar policy of Maharashtra, because it is one of the progressive policies as far as the water rejuvenation related part of the entire water security is concerned. And happy to state that a couple of state governments are very much engaged in relooking at their policies. So advocacy is important, and how to replicate something which is working or successful in a geography or in a state in a similar kind of a situation for other geographies. So hence, as I said, this project is just a symbolic representation of our philosophy of more from less for more, our objective of scalability, replicability, sustainability. And this can be applied cross-cutting across any themes, any projects. I know it was a very long answer
But it's
to a
very
short question, but I thought to lay the context and give details of the philosophy and the project, how it was deployed, and what is
That's
going
what we were
to
looking for
happen going
also.
forward.
And it's so wonderful. I mean, of course, Tata Motors, Tata Group actually is, it's so simple. We equate it with trust and transparency and efficiency. And I think that's the whole um, point of getting corporates into development work as well. Because otherwise, government is anyway the biggest partner in development projects. But the efficiency and the transparency, the last mile delivery that corporates can offer, so you're doing exactly that. I also wanted to touch upon the integrated village development programs that you have. You said that you were working on them in Maharashtra for many years. So when we say integrated village development, I mean, there are so many aspects that are weaved together. There's agriculture, education, health, infrastructure, so many things. So what are the domains that you work on in your projects? And also just tell us something of these holistic programs, because you have different plant locations and they are in very different geographies. So when you are adopting a village, or probably you're taking up a village development program around your plants, how do you replicate? What does your team do? So these are two questions in one. So please take your time and
So integrated village development, as the name indicates, it is integrated village development, meaning on every aspect,
mm,
just not limiting ourselves to health, education, skill development, women empowerment, environment, water. It would mean everything. So in our first integrated village development program, when we initiated in 2018, while we were working in villages for almost 80 years, ever since, Tata Motors or Telco, then it, started working in the social space when it began its operations. But then probably we were doing it at a holistic level, but probably it became a bit more organized. And more importantly, it was, as I said in my earlier conversation, that Tata Motors is not investing significantly. It is the existing government social welfare schemes which needs to be channelized. So we looked at about 300 parameters. So parameters, we did a complete door-to-door survey of every household. Did a PRA exercise, participatory rural appraisal exercise, FGDs, interacted with the relevant government authorities, other stakeholders involved, and then come out with a very comprehensive plan, which would include every aspect of the village and its citizens basis their need. Some are stated needs, some are unstated needs. Stated needs are very easy to sort of capture, but there are unstated needs as well, which are aspirational in nature, and they also needs to be incorporated. Of course, aspiration part of it will begin after a year or so, because you need to work with the communities, get their confidence, make them feel that we really mean what we have sort of committed to ourselves. And then then it becomes very easy. Then people start believing in their own journey, a journey towards higher aspiration, towards a better life. So I did mention that we began in Palghar, and that's where we took up a Gram Panchayat in a block called Jawhar. The the MOU is for 3 years. So that we are going to be for 3 years in that village, in that geography. And we begin, multiple interventions at the same time. So one would be, what Tata Motors is required to invest or requested to invest. We start investing there. We start aligning the government agencies with all the beneficiaries, because there are many schemes of the government, but the citizens may not know everything, or even if they know, they have not been able to leverage them. So we get all the departments aligned, make all the documentations, put all the documentation in place, and start channelizing all the schemes which are meant for the government, to the citizens. And most important is creating capable or investing in capabilities of the communities. Because after 3 years, if we have to move out, then we need to enable the communities to govern themselves. So we create various committees, like say water committee, a woman and child. It could be, committees for the youth, a school committee. Some of them are mandated by the government, but not in existence or not operational. And some we create on our own. And then, these committees of consisting of the villagers are empowered with information about what they need to do and what they are entitled to and what is their accountability. Because there has to be an accountability towards themselves and their own village folks. This is where we invest a lot of time. So first year onwards, we enable them to have regular meetings, course correct if at all required, build a confidence in themselves, in the villagers, that they have a voice and their voice would be heard. Because otherwise there's always a power differential between people who, or not say the government, but people whoever is in power and the citizens. So bridge that gap. And then the 3 years, it's not very hard and fast that after 3 years only we have to move out. It can be a fourth year also. It's okay. Now it's 5 years or 6 years in some of the villages where we are just going, our NGO partners is going for those monthly meetings of these committees and looking at if everything is okay or not. If there is anything we need to add to or we need to support, we do that. So complete survey through various means of the village is done in the beginning, aligning the government departments, signing an MOU, because then it is binding in a manner. delivery of whatever is the plan, and most importantly, capacity building of the communities to manage themselves. You also asked about, we have multiple plants in different geographies. How do we manage it? Our leadership is very much convinced about this model, and they wanted us, the CSR team, to deploy in every plant of ours. Happy to state that Sanand in near Gujarat, in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, we have signed up last October with the district administration for 5 gram panchayats. Then in Uttar Pradesh, one of the most deserving districts, and in the Niti Aayog's parameters, they were in the very lowest, I would say, quartile. Shravasti and Balrampur, they are the two districts where we had no connect. There's not even a dealer of ours, so we didn't know anyone out there. But we could manage to sort of work with the district administration, the state government, and deploy. So October, November, we signed up there. In Pune, we signed up. In Karnataka, Dharwad, we have begun the process. Pantnagar is almost in Uttarakhand, almost towards closure. And Jharkhand, we will be sort of looking at Jamshedpur in this year. So every plant, we will have this model. And if Tatas won't do it or Tata Motors won't do it, who else? Because, it's not out of arrogance. I know many corporates are doing wonderful work and we are learning from many of them. Let me admit that I personally am open to learning, and so is my team. If anyone is doing well and good, just reach out and take their support and help. But if we can deliver, we can demonstrate and deliver. I think those 700,000 villages, a large number of those villages probably can adopt a similar model where a CSR also may not be required, where the communities themselves can come together and sort of govern themselves. So I hope I addressed both your questions.
I think Ruchika had a question.
Yes. Actually, my question was related to the scale of the projects, the kind of magnitude and scale they have. I'm sure you must have faced some sort of challenges, especially because you're working in different states. So the challenges would have been different for each state. So if you could share some of the major challenges that you had faced, whether it had to do with community engagement or policy advocacy, or even at the operational level, and how did you address those? And if you could share some key learnings with the other stakeholders on how they can amplify their efforts and make them better.
Yeah. So firstly, I think we should go with a very open mind in any geography for any project. It cannot be that, this is what I want to do and you need to align. Then only the challenges come up. It doesn't mean there weren't any challenges. When you are going with a larger objective of supporting those communities for those causes of whatever is the objective we have set out for, the conversations become very easy. I had had very difficult conversations with some stakeholders, extremely difficult conversations. But then, if you are transparent, honest enough, and the other person is able to understand that you are not here just to sort of enhance your brand, or you want a board of Tata Motors on this village in a particular site, then they align. And let me also tell you that the Tata name helps a lot. It does significantly help. I'll give you an example. So we signed up for some project recently. and we weren't getting adequate sites for executing the work, because there are other stakeholders who might have other interests, right? This was last month. I just had to make a phone call to someone very senior in the administration and just told them that, while you're aligned, but on the ground level, possibility the alignment is still not complete. In half an hour's time, I got phone calls from quite a few collectors. Yeah, please do come. We want to discuss. And we are in a very good place in terms of achieving the objectives we had sort of planned for ourselves. Just yesterday, we had a detailed conversation with Commissioner of Rural Development, Uttar Pradesh, for this Shravasti Balrampur, which I was referring to, the model. He has taken keen interest. And then, he's been guiding us. In fact, he, I think, tweeted on his handle also yesterday. So, yeah, challenges are there, but if you're clear in your objectives and if the other person knows that, there isn't any hidden agenda or there isn't any other objective beyond what is, we have stated in an MOU or in a conversation, things become easy. So I would request your audience to look at government with a very open mind, with a very objective thought process. Else we always feel ki, things work in a very different manner in government and it's not possible for us to align. At least my experience, our experience has not been the case. It has been very good. And like you mentioned, Dr. Shweta, that government is the biggest welfare provider, right? If we can efficiently deliver, partner with them and efficiently deliver, I think that's the best thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, if we don't work with the government, it would be like reinventing the wheel. So it's great that you're working so positively with the government, state governments. Vinodji, before we move on to the next question, I wanted to ask about your Enable program because it really stood out to me, the success rates of the students under this program. It was given that there's a success rate of 27% for IIT JEE entrance and 79% for NEET entrance. So this was, I mean, it's totally phenomenal. How do you achieve such success rate with your students? And what kind of screening criteria do you have for taking in students under this program?
Okay. So these numbers are accumulation of almost 13 to 14 years of our efforts. So we began very small in 2011, 12, around that time. We signed up for one center in Puducherry, Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya School System, one school in Puducherry. Because whenever we invest somewhere, most of the projects are very new to us. Be it the IBDP project, water, in this format was all new. And all of these are, 7, 8 years old or, even lesser. So hence, if we have to be convinced about the objective on which we have initiated a project. And once we have sort of signed up, and then the plan, as I was saying, it has to be replicable, scalable, sustainable. Right. So from one school, then we took up 2 schools. Then around 2017-18, the then commissioner of Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya system, it's called Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti. He suggested us, we take cluster of states. So we took up Gujarat, Maharashtra cluster, and then Bihar cluster. and started an intervention on a scale. COVID came in, and that point in time, all of us knew almost 1.5, 2 years, it was online. Everything was online. Then, from two schools to about close to 100 schools, we sort of moved to 550 schools, 500 plus schools. As we all, some of us would be aware, but then for a larger group, to know the Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya is a central government funded residential schools, which is prevalent in all the districts of India, all old districts, the newer form districts. I think the schools are getting set up from 6th grade to 12th grade. Very high quality inputs are given to these children. Most of them come from deserving backgrounds. Most of them are from rural backgrounds. Many of them would be like first time graduates in the family. And, just one student probably changes the entire family's outlook once he or she gets into, engineering or a medical college. And the communities in the vicinity of where they come from, all of them get inspired. There are multiple success stories, okay, which I can narrate. Now, coming to a question of the success rate. As I mentioned, they are deserving students, but very, very, and they have a lot of potential. What is required is just harnessing that potential. So we have two good knowledge partners who are deploying the program, and they are committed to the cause of these young boys and girls. Both the founders of both the knowledge partners are IITians themselves. They have invested their own personal wealth before Tata Motors signed up with them. After Tata Motors signed up with both the knowledge partners, we were the first corporate funder to them, and now they have got multiple corporates funding them. And the success rate, what you mentioned, is just not because of the Tata Motors investments. It is the investment of our knowledge partners and many other corporates who have invested in some form or the other. So Enable is an open platform for anyone to invest either the time, money, expertise, and deliver the kind of outcomes which you spoke about. And this is not, some 100 students, 200 students. Almost 10,000 students, right? 12th standard students give these exams, the JEE and NEET exam. So it's an exam. It's a a proof of concept that in the public education system, if you do things well, get all the stakeholders and many more stakeholders together, you can do a larger good. Now we are looking at beyond JNPs, having proven, and as I said, we are not taking any credit. The JNV system itself is very good. The students are very good. Our knowledge partners were excellent, and there are many more corporates who also invested. So the credit goes to each one of them. Now we will be moving to some other education system which is on a scale, because now that's a celebrated network of schools. To get to some other networks which deserve attention. That is all about replicable, scalable, and sustainable.
Okay. That's amazing. I asked this question because in India, most of the people who have young school-going children are still obsessed with engineering and medical, and you are achieving such amazing results. So I just had to put this question. So now I'd like to move on to skilling. You're working extensively in skilling. You have the LEAP program, and you can tell us about that, how that program is progressing, or how your skilling initiatives, what are you up to this year? And I'd also like you to touch upon your take on skilling in India, because so many corporates are getting into skilling. It's one of the main focus areas of the government. But what we feel, what we have observed, and many other people as well, is that they are not actually, the initiatives are not translating into actual employment opportunities. So, in your experience, where are the actual gaps? Where do you think those gaps lie? So, you can first tell us about what you are doing in skilling, and then tell us this more subjective view of yours.
Rather, I would address the subjective part of the question because
Okay,
that
sure.
is more important. And this might help
Yes, please.
many other organizations who are in skilling to just review and reflect. Objective of any skill program is not just skilling someone, but the objective of a skill program is to empower that individual with a skill so that he or she can make a long-term career out of that. So that's the objective. So first, the objective has to be clear. I know that there are many entities who are good. They talk about very big numbers, and I'm sure it is impacting in some manner. But then the point you mentioned about whether they are actually gainfully employed or not, I think that's a question which each one of us in this space needs to sort of evaluate and answer for ourselves. So our skill program is very clearly aligned to the objective I mentioned, that the boy or a girl should get a skill which will help her or him make a career and help them with their future. So, like I mentioned, get all the stakeholders together. You'll find more from less for more everywhere what I do, be it enable, water, IVDP, now coming to LEAP as a skilling program as well. Again, in 2011-12, we thought we could have gone with the convention skilling, give some money to an NGO. That NGO would, or a skilling organization, they would commit to you some few hundred young people will be trained. You get a report and then you publish it and be happy with it. We sort of looked at the skilling employability space slightly differently. If you read reports, you will come across that automotive industry, construction industry, I think huge number of people are required to sustain the present operations and the future growth. And luckily, automobile or auto sector is an aspiration for many young people. Right? So we went to the drawing board and said, okay, fine. Our channel partners, meaning our service centers, dealers, they always will tell, we don't have people, skilled people. So there is a demand. There are many young people who are aspiring to get into a automotive sector as a career. There is an intent. There are quite a few ITIs or skilling organizations. The objective is to skill and give as much training to people as possible. So we said, okay, fine, let's all three of us get together. So we have an NGO partner called Skills for Progress, who have about 200 plus ITIs as their affiliate partners. As you all know, Tata Motors has got network in the length and breadth of the country through our service centers, right? And as I said, young people are very keen to get into the automotive sector. So we created a program wherein it's a 1-year program where 3 months are theory in these ITIs, the ITIs associated with SKIP. We got the content created through our training and service department. So it is a relevant, updated content and not something which is 20 years ago was relevant but still continues to be taught. and then 9 months of on-the-job training at a Tata Motors or any automotive service center. We didn't mind that you have to only go to a Tata Motors service center. You can go anywhere if you get adequate on-the-job training. And Tata Motors pays a stipend for these 9 months. And the channel partner, the service center, also has to pay a stipend because they are getting people who are going to also contribute to their operations and also learn, right? So these 9 months on the job training is structured wherein they just not are working in a workshop, but they are also getting all the skills in a structured manner. So after 9 months, each and every one, whoever is willing to work gets a job. More than 90% plus is the placement. Some of them, want to go abroad. Some of them wish to continue their formal education. So now here, how it is sustainable? So we pay stipend for the first year in full, reduce it by 50% in the second year, bring it to 25% in the third year, and fourth year onwards, we don't pay any stipend. Then the institute and the channel partners, they know the value of this program, and they have to sort of, take care of the financial part of it. What we do is update the content on a regular basis, have management development programs for the institute's principals and directors. So every year, they do come to the Tata Motors center or facility wherever we have this MDP. So that we are not just investing in the students, we are also investing in the management also. So that they are just not aligned, they just are not limited to the current knowledge, but also what's happening in the industry and beyond. And I know various, there's a very much sought after program which these directors and principals have. And then we have skill competition every year for the students of the program. Just in the month of March, we had one in Kolkata. So all of this in the engagement of Tata Motors is very significant without really having a financial stake. But we are very important for the program because we are a pivot. Yes. And if the pivot is lost, then the entire thing gets disoriented. And from 2 centers when we began, we are more than at 60 centers currently across various parts of India. It's agnostic of location or a city because wherever there is a demand, wherever there is a service center, this training can be conducted. And now we are also introducing electric vehicle training, because that is something which is an upcoming possibility and skill shortage being there. In the factories also, we have a skill program through our HR and training division called Kaushalya program, where about 16,000 young boys and girls, largely girls, are engaged in a 3-year program where they are also getting a diploma in manufacturing technology certification. They get stipend in the course of their stay at Tata Motors in these 3 years, and then assured placements to everyone. The skilling space has to be really relooked from a different lens. If only training someone and be done with it is the objective, then I don't think we are serving the objective. That end objective of placement, which is relevant, which is contemporary, which is aspirational. And I think, this is possible and on a scale.
I mean, it was all your responses, Vinodji, are so insightful, and they are comprehensive and yet so crystal clear. So I wish I had more time to touch upon more aspects, because Tata Motors is working in almost every domain, but we have crossed the time limit. But I hope we can talk again with you sometime later and cover the aspects that we could not cover. But thank you for joining us today. And not just giving your time, but sharing such wonderful insights about your work. And I'm sure whoever listens to this interview, our audience are going to really gain from it. So thank you very much for joining us.
Dr. Sweta and Ms. Ruchika for giving this opportunity. Look forward for more conversations going forward. Thank you so much.
Right.